Thank you very much, Alex. Dear authorities of Guyana, leaders of the private enterprises, members of the diplomatic corps, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I want to start thanking the organizers of this beautiful conference for this possibility to address you briefly on a subject which is quite important and where we can perhaps share some experiences. But I will, before I start with my presentation, I would like to say that I came to Guyana first in 2014, and then I have been coming regularly since. And in 2019, I had the privilege to be welcomed as the ambassador of the European Union here. So I've been living in this country for 2 years and a half, more or less. I have never seen such a successful, massive, enormous event. Congratulations for this. This is a wonderful success already. So I will perhaps focus on the European Union experience on shared assets and infrastructure in the energy sector. That's a terrible title, sorry for that. But then I would like to turn briefly to some more general, related, important issues that come to my mind after I have heard so many visionary speeches. First, the EU experience on the infrastructure in the energy sector. Our conference is about charting a sustainable energy future, and energy infrastructure is a fundamental part of that effort. Modern, integrated, and well interconnected infrastructure is the backbone of a strong and resilient market. And it is also necessary, and this is very important, for achieving the targets that we have on renewable energy, decarbonizing the economy, and paving the way towards climate neutrality. And we have heard a lot about that already. Since 2013, the European Union has put in place comprehensive rules to accelerate the build-up of the infrastructures that we need. That's what we call the Trans-European Energy Networks. And I have heard also that the good projects that Guyana, Suriname, and Brazil have in the design board for that. I hope that our experience can be useful, perhaps not only in terms of our successes, but also in terms of our mistakes. The work that we have done on these energy networks has helped to advance energy interconnections within the European Union, but also outside the European Union. It has made our energy market more secure. And this is particularly important in moments of crisis like what we have now, when we, as you know, Europe is very dependent on gas from Russia, and it is very important that in moments of crisis we have those networks fully functioning. It has also made our energy systems more sustainable by enabling the integration of growing shares of renewables. But, and I want to insist on that, our policy objectives have evolved with the climate emergency. And I want to repeat that. Let's be very clear about it. We are in a climate emergency, and we have all a shared responsibility to address it. And this is what has led to the European Union Green Deal, which integrates new trends like increased electrification, energy system integration, again, decarbonization and digitalization, very important for shaping our future infrastructures. So from now to 2030, we estimate that investment in electricity grids will have to double compared to the last decade, reaching more than 50 billion euro per year. And also for offshore grids alone, we need more than 530 billion euro in investments by 2050. Our hydrogen strategy estimates that investment of around 65 billion euro will be needed by 2030. You see that this is a huge enterprise that we are involved in, and I hope that also we can share more technical details, and we are at the disposal of Guyana for that, so that the future infrastructures of Guyana, Suriname, and Brazil are also responsive to all those needs. I want to insist on one point which is important. We need to align closely with the climate neutrality objectives. And this is fundamental And perhaps on a more personal note, I admire and I am very encouraged by those projects of having a meaningful interconnection in terms of energy. If I may, from my non-expert view, but still give a piece of advice, I think it is important. We have discovered that in Europe, that the infrastructures on energy are not only focused on fossil fuels, even if you have a lot and you want to make the most of it, but they must be prepared already for the green transition, because the green transition is happening, it's going to happen, and infrastructures which are not prepared for that will be obsolete. Perhaps to finish with this more technical part before I turn to a few more general comments, I would like to say that our international policy reflects our internal commitments. And I say that also because I heard yesterday some reference to the relations between the European Union and Senegal, a bit unfairly in my view. Let me perhaps just recall here that our president of the European Commission, von der Leyen, just went to Senegal for a historical visit in preparation of the European Union-Africa Summit. And this summit is going to happen soon and will focus on strengthening our cooperation and including a very ambitious global gateway Africa-Europe investment package, which will focus very much, not only, but very much on energy infrastructures and helping Africa to reach, to bring affordable energy for all. That's the first thing, but also to transition towards green energy. Let me perhaps turn to a few more general considerations. I want to be strict with my timing because I know that we are a bit late, so I will not speak more than 1 hour, did we say? Now, more seriously, let me turn to a few more general considerations inspired by the impressive interventions that I have had the privilege to hear these days. And I think those are important reflections because no energy network can work in a sustainable way without a vision for the transition towards cleaner energies. So, and I'm glad, I have to say that this vision is being put into place. I heard Vice President Jacques Deo that when he recalled yesterday that Guyana is firmly committed to zero emissions target by 2050. To strong carbon price, too early decarbonization. And I think he has said previously something like, we are not withdrawing from our global commitments. Congratulations for that, because this is fundamental, not only for Guyana, but for the entire world. I am extremely encouraged by this commitment because it is indeed urgent and necessary to move towards more sustainable forms of energy. Our future, but also our business future, is there. And I'm also encouraged equally by the commitment to ensure that oil wealth reaches all the citizens of Guyana. There is no sustainability without this precondition. This is a precondition. I heard that and I'm very encouraged by that. I'm sure that this will follow the words. And I would add, perhaps this has not been sufficiently stressed, or I have not heard it a lot, that ensuring energy efficiency and fighting waste in grids is also essential. And I think this is a problem in many places, including in Guyana. So it's very important, and it is a great way to reduce our emissions. Let me turn to corporate responsibility. Corporate responsibility is also key. The Vice President has said that the administration is looking to get the oil companies to acknowledge that they have a commitment to protect the environment. But I'm already encouraged very much by what I have heard today from the oil companies, and in particular, Exxon's chair, Mr. Booth, yesterday debriefed us on that. Corporate responsibility in oil production and exploitation is essential. And I would add, must cover, obviously, all areas from risk management to disaster prevention and redress, from avoidance of flaring to all the other concepts of corporate responsibility, which are fundamental for Guyana, but also for the oil companies. I think mentalities have evolved, and today we all accept that we have a shared responsibility. And talking about shared responsibility, let me say a few words about what the European Union is doing and will continue to do. in terms of shared responsibility. As you know, and as we know as well, Guyana is highly vulnerable to climate change, maybe one of the most vulnerable countries on Earth, if only because it is largely below sea level, and therefore it is very vulnerable to the rising sea levels. The EU is aware of that and has invested over the last years quite an important amount, not only to build and rebuild the seawall, as you know, this is an endless work, but also to invest on mangroves, which are more sustainable, which are a wonderful way to combine the protection of the environment with the protection of people living in coastal areas. And we have invested more than 50 million euro in the past years, and we will continue to work on mangroves in the future. Because this is the future and this is the good news. It is my pleasure to announce, to recall that in December 2021, the European Union approved two important bilateral packages of cooperation. One for Guyana, 21 million euro, another one for Suriname, 13 million euro. And the largest part of those packages will go precisely to support the forest of Guyana and of Suriname. And this is very important because the forests, as we have been reminded, are not only wonderful and beautiful treasures of Guyana and of Suriname, they are also huge carbon sinks. And we understand that preserving them is in the benefit, first of all, of Guyana and Suriname, but also of the humanity, of humankind, of everybody. And that's why I'm also very happy about those programs, which come on top of many other initiatives related to our forest, what we call our forest partnership with Guyana. That includes, for example, the Forest Law Enforcement, Governance and Trade Program, which we call FLECT, which aims at helping Guyana to produce legitimate wood, to exploit this wonderful resource and to export it in a way that doesn't destroy it. I'm putting that very simply because I think this is the way things have to be said. We have to be very clear on that, and we will continue to work with Guyana and with Suriname on all that. It is my pleasure to announce this, but there is more financing and there is more funding available, and we will do our best to ensure that Guyana benefits. We have a shared responsibility. Let me perhaps conclude now with an even more general reflection, and it was very important. Prime Minister Motley rightly asked at the beginning of the conference, who will produce the fossil fuel which will be needed during the transition period? What a good question, right? It's a very good question. And this was also probably a bit of a rhetorical question on her side. But there is another question which is also very important, perhaps even more significant. Who will reap the profits of this production? And are we talking about country versus another country? Or are we talking about finding the necessary balance between the benefits legitimate of the private companies and the benefits also legitimate of the government of Guyana, government of Suriname? That's also an important conversation, which I think is absolutely essential. In any case, what I think we all agree is that we have to avoid a race to the bottom. What I mean by that is that, yes, there has been countries and companies who have already produced a lot, who have polluted in the past, and perhaps continue to pollute. The European Union is committed, and you know that we have said we will reach carbon neutrality, and we're putting a huge effort in that. But it is true that in the past it has not been like this. That doesn't mean that everybody has to pollute as much as the greatest polluter. That would be a race to the bottom. Because with that logic, even within the European Union, my country would want to pollute as much as Germany. Germany would like to pollute as much as China. China would like to pollute as much as, I don't name names. It's not the point. The point is that we have a shared responsibility. Yes, we understand that. And that's why we have those forest partnerships. That's why we have many other things. But at the same time, I'm also very encouraged by the firm commitment of the government of Guyana and Suriname to reach and respect their environmental commitments. That's very good. Guyana, our beloved Guyana, is in a dilemma. It wants legitimately to make the most of its wonderful resources and to lift its people from poverty. And I couldn't agree more with that, of course. It also wants equally legitimately to protect the environment and to fulfill its international commitments. And we agree, I think all in this room will agree that both are legitimate, fully legitimate, both are necessary, both are essential. We all agree, but the devil is in the detail. And let me quote here a very old song that I like very much. It's not what you do, it's the way that you do it. Well, the transition must be fast. The transition is not something that will happen in 2050 or in 2030. The transition has to happen now, has to happen gradually, of course, but has to happen. And I would be very happy if we, at the end of this conference, in the same way that we all agree that we want a cleaner, renewable, sustainable energy, and we want a better, a safe future for our children, I would like very much if we all agree that the transition needs also to be accelerated. We are making an effort in Europe to do that, and we are also ready to help others to do that. That requires far-reaching vision, and I have seen a lot of that. That requires a lot of work. We are doing a lot of that. That requires generosity on all sides, but it is the only way ahead, and the clock is ticking. And if we are too late, it will not serve any purpose to blame each other. We are all in this together, and as always, you can count on the European Union for that. Thank you very much for your attention, and all the best for the rest of the conference.